Right, here we go again. It's Friday the 18th of March 2022 and I'm doing North Herts Ramblers Group Walk 59, a Stevenage Circular of around 10 miles from here at Great Ashby, car park thereof. Got a cracking day, bit of cloud up there, no wind, which is great, and very pleasant, sort of 15-16 degrees. Plenty of bird song, chiff-chaffs are out here already in abundance. 1 o'clock now or thereabouts, should be done by 6, nightfall. So let's press on and see what awaits. Okay, from the car park, enter Clay Pit Hills Spring, Great Ashby, which is actually in Hertfordshire. Quite a bone of contention with people in Hertfordshire because Great Ashby is part of Stevenage, yet has all the benefits of being in North Hertfordshire. So that will probably be the situation with the other big housing development I filmed 2 weeks back to the west of Stevenage as well. So as you can see, this is a bluebell wood in season. Plenty of mixed deciduous trees in here. And appropriate bird song as well. Immediately on my left though, you've got the housing development of Great Ashby. Plenty of seats and picnic tables in this very early part of the walk. But my intention is to break for lunch in the hamlet of Ardeley, or is it Ardeley? Might be Ardeley, where there's a church. Not too bad underfoot thus far, considering the rain we had 2 days back. Do a right here at this finger post, just ahead of a playing field in front of us. Moving away from the woodland into more open country now, and as you can hear in the background, skylark territory. Okay, this is Dane End on the map, where we do a right, as indicated on that finger post there. And as you can hear in the background, as I mentioned last week, once we get back into Hertfordshire you hear the jet noise. We were in Bedfordshire last week near the airport, could hardly hear a thing. Interesting that, isn't it? Just like Stevenage dumped their population in Hertfordshire, so does the airport. Once again on the Stevenage Outer Orbital Path, the Stoop, which I was on 2 weeks ago as well. Now on a track called Dovehouse Lane on the map, which takes us all the way to Walkern, from whence rather, I've walked previously. This is new walking today, possibly some repetition later on, soon find out. Now this part of the walk is pretty rutted and wet, as you can see here. About 120 metres up, 400 odd foot, well thereabouts. And there you can hear the old chiff-chaff. Spring arrives this weekend on the 21st. Or 20th, whichever way you want to take it. And the old chiff-chaffs now are out in abundance. Thankfully, all is well in the world. Unless you're in Ukraine, of course, where things are still very unpredictable. And the reason this is heavily rutted is because someone has recently cut the hedge with a tractor that's far too big and with a flail it's done a load of damage again. Really need to sort this out, you know. Shocking. Big field country at this point. And it feels like the breeze has actually picked up since I set off. So there may be a touch of interference. Within this little woodland on my right here, apparently there's a spring. Jack Pallet's spring per the map. And on my left, Churchmead Common formerly was. There is Walkern ahead of us, and as you can see, a number of new houses have popped up there as well, albeit within the confines of the parish boundary by the looks of it. Blue tip behind me. Just passing a bench donated by the authors of this walk, or the creators of the track at least, next to this finger post. As they rightly say, a decent vista. In fact, this is Church End Common, not Churchmead as I incorrectly described earlier. Just passing the entrance to Manor Farm. Passing the United Reformed Church here. And there is a bit of an information panel here about the village and the church. Passing a thatched cottage here, a remnant of times gone by for this area. The old rooks, I believe, are well down the line where they're nesting. And you can hear the bells of St Mary's in the background. There you go. 2 o'clock on the button. Crossing over the River Beane here, which flows through Forster country, I believe, where there's going to be yet another housing development that I've mentioned previously. The old depth gauge is a bit optimistic. 6 foot. Lucky to get 6 inches these days. So another St Mary the Virgin, this time in Walkern. Very pleasant church it is as well. Sign of the times there, just as COVID has been and still is. I'm hearing of increasing numbers of people getting affected by it, triple jabbed as well. The old sunflower is the national flower for Ukraine, so I read, hence its presence there. And there's a little reminder on the church door of the other big elephant in the room. Wonderful to see all these daffodils and narcissi, albeit they're not natives. Shame that. This is the rear of the... I can't get the rear, the sun's in the way. Anyway, there's a bit of it. There is a bit of it there. Interesting little fact there, taken from an acorn, from Sherwood Forest. What a wonderful bit of history that is. God's strength to you, young oak. Okay, there is a path on my left here, but you don't take that because the route that the GPX track follows is straight ahead. Then we reach this byway here where we turn left. There are a number of options, but it's the purple restricted byway we're following. Can't say I've seen that colour before. I've seen red for byways. The red must be for access to all vehicles, and the purple must be restricted. Makes sense. Do believe they are periwinkles, but somebody might correct me. And the yellow one that's out and about at the moment I believe to be celandines as opposed to aconites. Haven't seen any to film yet, but I know they're around. More pleasant field edge walking, as is quite commonplace around here in East Herts. Cromer windmill, just visible in the distance there. Filmed that on previous walks. So very close to my lunchtime stop at Ardeley, if I can find the church. More victims of war. So after about 150 yards of road walking, quite a busy lane, entering Ardeley, and plenty of thatch around this village. Oh, that's interesting. Anyone translate that, apart from it being 1917? And this church is unusually dedicated to St. Lawrence. Nice village pond next to it as well. Even the village hall there, which has a seat outside I notice, is thatch. And this interesting feature in the middle of this green. Looks like a well, perhaps. It certainly was. So there you go, we got Mr. Dawson to thank for this lich gate. Oh, isn't that wonderful? 1775, and it looks like the fleur-de-lis of the Prince of Wales. Now used as a flower pot. Wonderful rambling churchyard we have here, and I can see a seat there in the sun. Love this, look at it, completely wild. Primroses all over the place, which is always a good sign. Wonderful. Always remind me of Easter, which obviously comes late this year. And let's take this seat here, which once again is dedicated by Chris Dawson. I wonder if COVID took him, looking at the date of his death. Well, COVID will be written down as the cause. Probably had an underlying condition though. Okay, just gone 2:30. Lunch is served. Well, as fate and fortune would have it, at 3:15 lunch has been had. Mrs. Dawson just happened to walk past as I was eating my lunch, and she told me that Chris, unfortunately, was taken by cancer. Did a tremendous lot for the village, and you'd imagine was a school governor, looked after the village hall that I filmed earlier, and yes, that was a well. So thanks to Mr. Dawson here for this wonderful bench, and looking after the churchyard apparently as well. So I'm now just going to pop into the church because she's opened it, see what's inside. This is an amazing little church. I didn't actually go in and film. I stuck my head behind the door, but there was half a dozen people in the church cleaning. It's their cleaning afternoon apparently, so didn't want to get all those people involved. So yeah, look, there's a rear entrance which clearly is no longer used. But what a wonderful little churchyard, eh? So this is probably the best shot of the church I can get actually. Wonderful little place. And there, as you can see, is my lunchtime position. So passing Church Farm Ardeley, a free range experience as you can see. Community project. Wonderful. Farm trail over there. Turkeys and geese. So we now leave the village of God, where have I just been? Ardeley via boat number 0004, and that's not a P&O ferry, that's byway open to all vehicles, all traffic. So that's a good interesting use of a farm there, Church Farm Ardeley, obviously given over to education. I didn't even know it was here, and as I say, I only live 7 miles away. There you got it. Clearly children with special needs, they get on well with this kind of community setup, and it can, as you can see here, they help out with the animals and the planting of stuff, because I think it's very therapeutic. Yeah, interesting place this. So 4 miles to the church, a roundabout, and 6 miles to go. So the church is a good lunchtime picnic area. Some old clay pits here apparently. Wonderful. First lambs I've seen this year. The youngsters are numbered the same as their mother. Good to see. Amazing, there's a spring in there. Which then flows onto the, or into the byway. Wondered where the water was coming from. Interesting, there are a number of kites, I believe, as opposed to buzzards. There might be buzzards, but I can't make them out from here, flying above those young lambs. I'll soon have one of them off. So here we have a Squitmore field, clover, herb and mixed lay grassland, all good stuff. So yeah, interesting place this. Church Farm, Ardeley, if you want to Google it. This path is by far the worst in terms of ruts and wetness, as you can see. This is the mile down to Wood End. I think you're better off taking the alternative option round the edge of this field here, which I saw someone else take earlier. Yeah, so when it's wet and muddy like it is today, you're better off taking the path on your left, which isn't any longer. Brings you to the same point here, avoiding all this mud and water. And likewise this path across this field.
Distance 5.
Yeah, so we've just hit 5 mile on the button. This path avoids the ruts and water behind the hedgerow there. So clearly the county council have realised the problem and got permission to cross this field. So you could chance your arm and join the official route there, the chain walk, Hertfordshire chain walk, or you could stay on the field edge here. I'm chancing my arm with the official route on the chain walk. Interesting position for a trampoline. So we're almost in the hamlet of Wood End. You could take the right here, marked Parker's Green, to join the path at a later point. Cut off about half a mile, I'd say, but I'm going with the GPX track. Now for some reason the GPX track continues straight on down there. Don't know why, don't know if there's certainly not a pub on the map, maybe a seat, I don't know. Maybe that's where the creator of the walk, who probably has local knowledge, had their lunch. But in any case, I'm not going down that way. I'm taking the track as indicated after they've returned from that other point down here through someone's backyard. So you come out opposite these barns and a couple of houses and then do a left. Ignore the path on the left here. Continue straight ahead. And we've got a house behind us. A very pleasant Tudor looking building. Onward journeys on through this shrubbery. So you have two options here. Continue right or straight ahead, not left. And again, next to this cottage here, which absolutely stinks of oil, I can smell from this container. Don't take the left, but continue straight on. So classic East Herts countryside, lots of little bits of wood. Fields aren't massively grand, which is wonderful. About 4 o'clock now. Breeze is starting to get a bit chillier, but still very pleasant. Doing well with the weather today, glorious walking weather. Breeze is picking up, as you may be able to hear. Well marked out field crossing here. Chalk and cheese. Here the farmer has not reinstated the path, and this was ploughed more than 2 weeks ago, I can tell you. Absolutely ridiculous. I'll report that on Pathwatch. Okay, this lane from Holmes farmhouse to Walmer Green is the first bit of duplication today, I recognise it from a previous walk. But the duplication ends now because whereas we went up a bit further and turned right, we're now turning left here to Walman's Green. Wonderful. About 4:30 now. And interestingly, not too much jet noise disturbance today. Just little private planes, as you can possibly hear now. Some long-tailed tits in the background. So a short right here on this byway. Well, in fact, it's a public bridleway. And then a left for a bit of road walking. Passing Walkern Hall Farm. The old Canada goose has got his eye on me there. There's a pair of them. Probably the female's doing the feeding while he's doing the guarding. I saw an interesting snippet on YouTube the other day where a Canada goose was having a fight with a swan. You wouldn't have put money on that, would you, really? Canada geese are big, but the old swan is bigger, but the Canada goose would not give up. Yeah, March the 1st, cattle come out, and there they are. First lot I've seen for a little while. Well, it is only the 18th of March, so yeah, they're back out. And that rather plush residence there is Walkern Hall. With its avenue of trees up to me. So we now come off the lane to take Public Bridleway 11, and I must say it's been a very good walk thus far. Has to be some duplication at some point, I'm sure. I'm very impressed that I haven't encountered only a couple of 100 yards to this point. The old goose is still doing his duty. Coming up 5 o'clock, looking ahead at the expanding village of Walkern. Somewhere around here, according to the map, there's another spring, Cobbles Spring, or Cobles. I can't see any evidence of water running down. Could be that Affinity have drained it dry. So you come off Walkern High Street here, turn left up Frog Hall Lane, which is opposite Budgeon's, conveniently. Interesting sign of former times. Got these gravestones and no church. So as you can see, we're just about, well, as you can just about see, we're still on the stoop, Stevenage Orbital. More new shoe boxes, less greenbelt. I wonder who's going to be buying these, eh? Certainly not the Russians for a change. So, since the GPX track was devised, that housing estate would have popped up, and it's certainly a big one. I wonder how long it'll be, judging by that fencing down there, before this next field is taken. Certainly got infill potential by the looks of it. shocking, isn't it? Skylarks love this kind of field. Hear them singing at the moment. Yep, I'd say it's only a matter of time. If it hasn't already been approved. Blackbird's busy hunting for food amongst the old leaves there, which is why it's always a good idea to leave all the leaves. My councils religiously cleanse the living daylights out of them. Beats me. Health and safety gone mad. It's got rich pickings down there. But I'm going to have to disturb you, mate. Bear with me. Need to get past. I've heard a lot of these today. Yellowhammers. Wonderful to hear. Just catch a glimpse of his head there. Lovely yellow. Budgerigar-esque. Wonderful season, spring. As the sun approaches setting time, another 45 minutes. So we take a left here, following a clearly defined path. Herd of deer over there on my left. Very good vantage point I'm stood on at the moment, but I can't film most of it because the sun's directly at me. Take a right here towards Boxbury Farm on the map. Okay, here we are back at base. 3 hours 50, 10.3 miles later, and that was a very good quality walk from North Herts Ramblers. The only fly in the ointment was the new development at Walkern, but otherwise a very good walk. Some muddy spots in places. Clearly you don't do that walk after rain. But the majority of them could be avoided with a bit of pre-planning if you do happen to walk in the rain. So yeah, that was quality walk today, and the weather helped out. About 5:45 now, so about a half hour more, 45 minutes more of walking time available. So highly recommended that one. That's walk number 59, I believe, so one of the early ones. So until the next time, let's keep fingers crossed. Maybe next week the war will have ended. Hope so. Take care.